Clash of the Classics.
Hey everyone, welcome to Clash of the Classics. I'm Donnie. I'm your guide here for most of these episodes that we do with Clash of the Classics. Mr. Tom Spence across from me here, directly across from me. He is our historian for these battles. If you're new to the show, as we say each and every week, maybe this is the first time you've tuned us in, welcome to everyone. Always great to have you guys with us. You're going to find every week we roll the clock back. We pit two classic models against one another, and then we go head-to-head with styling. We look at powertrain stuff. We'll sometimes check out the interior. We might take a look at some design features, but ultimately we vote on the car that we like best. We try to have fun with it, and we welcome you to join us. Let us know which car you prefer. These battles are fueled by National Parts Depot. For the finest in classic car restoration parts, you got to check them out at npdlink.com. Once again, it's npdlink.com. National Parts Depot is proudly restoring American history. All right, let's get started today. It's all about the 1978 Corvette battling that 1978 Mazda Rx-7. I want to start with that 78 Vet. Now, this is the third generation Vet, probably not one of the most memorable Corvettes that were ever produced, Spence. Car weighed about 3,600 pounds and was, according to many Chevy fans, well underpowered. And I think I would be one of those guys. The engine options were the L48 and the L82. The L48 was rated right at 185 horsepower, and the L82 engine was good for about somewhere in the neighborhood of 220. And this is probably a case where I would definitely roll with the manual transmission as opposed to the automatic transmission. The 4-speed was so much more enjoyable in this particular model. The Turbo 350, the automatic, was pretty boring. I owned a 78 Vet for a very short time back in 1985. It wasn't a car that I was real excited about keeping for any length of time. My car had the 3-speed automatic, and I have to say, it was boring as heck to drive that car.
Just no fun at all.
I just didn't like it. It was underpowered, and it made up for it by having no fun with the trans.
Yeah, which isn't good.
Which is not good.
And at that point, had you completely given up shifting except for your motorcycle, or were you still dabbling? Did you like to go here to go there? Because you did have it in that.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I liked it better then than I do now because we didn't have the dual clutch back then. We didn't have some of the sophisticated automatics back in the mid-'80s. So I still preferred the manual trans back then. But this, the Turbo 350, while very reliable, and it's been used for, gosh, I don't know how many years. It came out in 1969, and Rodders have been using it forever. But, good unit. But in this particular case, it was a Corvette that didn't look well, at least to me, didn't really perform well, and it was very ho-hum.
It makes it tough for a very dark period.
Yes. So, I mean, personally, I didn't like it. The launch and the manual far better because of the 336 differential that the manual option came with seemed like a lot better. The automatic car came with a 308 Freeway Flyer kind of a diff ratio, but that 336 and the manual trans was a whole lot better. The original MSRP on this car was $9,976. Mr. Ken Hale's not with us today, but a good number 2 car. I did do some research, right around $16K. So still not the best of residual value, but again, not a car that you'd really like to. And all of you Corvette owners out there, I'm in no way trying to be disrespectful. Just this particular model back in '78, I didn't care for.
And that's a tough one too, because everybody's going to have their downtime. We talk about the Mustang, we talk about these other cars. Average cost of a new house was $54,000, and you were making around $17,000 to $20,000 a year. So what was the sticker on this?
On the Corvette was $9,000, just under $10,000, $9,900.
So that was expensive.
It was an expensive car, yeah.
That was a pricey ride.
And you didn't get a lot. There wasn't a lot of bang for the buck, as they say. 78. That was, I remember 78 very well. It was 2 years before school was over for me, and it was a difficult time. My father and I were kind of going at it a little bit. It was a time I could easily forget.
Yes, especially the music, and I must right now. This is why we had FM radios. On the AM, it was 3 Times a Lady, Boogie, Oogie, Oogie, Thicker Than Water, which was Andy Gibb. Baby Come Back from Player, How Deep Is Your Love from the Bee Gees. We also have Kiss You All Over from Exile. The Bee Gees coming in again with Stayin' Alive. I know you were bumping this. You Light Up My Life from Debbie Boone.
Oh, yeah.
The Bee Gees again. As much as I might make fun, who's really laughing? These guys had some hit songs. And number one, another Bee Gee, Andy Gibb, Shadow Dancing. It was a terror for me to be in a car with somebody who liked AM radio.
Now, in 1978, I was definitely kicking with 2112 from Rush. I was listening to Zeppelin. I was listening to the first, second, third album with Kiss. And so, yeah, that's where I was going. I wasn't with the Bee Gees.
No, not at all. And we talked about the generation gap in past shows. This one cut a gap between our generation, where you had like kind of the disco dancing people, then you had the rockers, and so we had a big divide in that. That was back in the era of disco sucks.
I was digging the temples of Syrinx, that's for sure. But before we go any further, let me just say, whether you're looking for simple replacement parts, you're looking for restoration parts, performance upgrades, NPD are the go-to guys. Check their catalogs for part availability. National Parts Depot makes our Clash of the Classics possible. No one knows classics better than NPD. All right, now let's talk about that 1978 Mazda Rx-7. This is another car that I just happened to own, and I liked it. I owned it for a short bit back in the early 80s. This car, at least for me, is a whole lot more enjoyable than that Corvette. My car was the 5-speed manual. And it was a blast to drive, Spence, at least until on the 91 freeway, which is a freeway down in Southern California in the Orange County area, I blew the engine up. I didn't realize I was out of engine oil at the time. We had leaked it all out, and I had the music so loud I could hardly see out the front window. But I was having a good time. 78 was the first year of production for the car. It was cool right out of the gate. In fact, it made Car and Driver's 10 best list 5 times. Also been featured in the movie Need for Speed and Fast and the Furious series. Did I say that right? Fast and the Furious series, yeah.
I'll go with that.
Okay. Speaking of Hollywood movies, this car seems to be, at least for a while, it seemed to make quite a few cameo appearances.
Yeah, I drove, the second time I went skydiving, I drove in one of those. I passengered in one out to the jump site, which was out in the desert, so it was a couple hours drive. It was great.
You have an interesting story with skydiving.
Yes.
The first time you got in a plane, you jumped out of it.
Yeah, the first time I flew in a plane, I jumped out of it. The second time I flew in a plane and jumped out of it, a person on board took the quick way. Had a chute failure.
It was a lady, and her chute didn't deploy, right?
Yep, it did not deploy. So I stopped skydiving shortly thereafter.
That would seem.
Yeah, I was 2 for 2, and I thought, this is a good streak. I'm going to hang with that.
Man, you hear about that stuff happening, but you never know it's going to happen.
I never flew in an airplane, so I decided the first time I took flight, I was going to jump out.
Well, the rotary engine in the Mazda, it ran exceptionally well, was rated at about 100 horsepower. To me, and I don't know about you, but this car I thought was a really good-looking car.
Yeah, and I remember I liked it a lot when we drove it out there. I really enjoyed the ride in this car.
Excellent-looking interior is comfortable. Car handled really well. It was a ton of fun to drive. Original MSRP on this car was about $7,900, just under $8,000. Today, the car's worth $8,000.
$8,000.
Yeah, so
all right, held its value.
It held it.
God bless him.
Yeah, there wasn't any decrease in value, but we're certainly not having any increase. But I like the car. Between these two cars, and I'll tell you what, I'll jump out of the gate first. I think you know which car I'm going to roll with.
Yes.
I've had both of them. The Corvette was just, what a disappointment. The little Mazda seemed... It had so much better feel in the steering. It was so much more responsive, so much less body roll. Even for a small car, you think a Corvette would be tight in the corners. This one, the 78 Corvette, just wasn't. This little Mazda kind of kicked its butt all over the street. I really enjoyed it.
The movies, and you're going to love this: Grease, National Lampoon's Animal House, Halloween, The Last Wall, Superman, The Wiz, I Spit on Your Grave, what a classic, and Midnight Express. On that note, you cannot buy a Corvette that's underpowered.
Correct.
You just can't.
Right,
You just can't. So you got to go with the Mazda in this battle.
Okay, so we have
100%.
2 Mazdas here, folks. We're going to need you
2 jumps, 2 Mazdas.
Yeah, going to have to help us kind of sort this one out. Visit our website or our Facebook page and let us know which car that you like best. Because, and I don't know, here's the thing, before we go to break, I do want to say this. It's interesting, the second generation Corvette, the C2, which was the 63 through the 67. Now, there is a body style that I continue to be enamored by. I love that Corvette. In fact, even with the new one, you asked me, I think it was 2 weeks ago, if I would, buy the new Vette, and I said yes. But if I had my choice between the brand new 2018 or a 1963 or 64, there's not a snowball's chance in heck that I wouldn't choose the early C2. Of all the Corvettes ever built, that 63 through 67, definitely my favorite.
Yeah, good-looking cars, great rides. But didn't anybody say as they were producing this car, hey, it's a Corvette, it's underpowered?
Yeah.
One person at the table who took it for the test ride, when they were just trying out.
Good
saying,
point.
This, like your DeLorean.
Yeah.
One with the looks and with everything. Didn't somebody say, man, we really got to hold this back because it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it
looks
fast.
that way. You got to do something with it.
With 130 horsepower, not enough.
Yeah.
Now, the Corvette has 180 horsepower. You would even roll out at 275 anyway. At least get close to 300.
Yeah.
At 180 horsepower, it just seemed to me like I don't know what Chevy was thinking. It never has made sense to me. But if you've got a classic ride, you're in the middle of a classic build, perhaps you're just considering getting into classic car restoration, do yourself a favor, visit NPD. You can find them 24 hours a day at npdlink.com. Once again, National Parts Depot makes our Clash of the Classics possible. Anytime you need a classic car restoration part, you got to check them out. There's a number of places that you can go, that you can look for, and I know that there are a number of options. Check out NPD, National Parts Depot. We got a ton more coming up. We're going to check in with the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association, and we're going to check out the all-new BMW M Series vehicles. We're going to pay particular attention to that M4. Now, that is one heck of a ride. You don't want to miss that. Stay in your seats. We'll be right back. We are your ultimate stop in automotive radio. We are Horsepower for an hour.